Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, the techniques of conquest, one should offer the typical obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, Rishi, the foremost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Ashtavarayeshu Vandreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neti. By regular attendance in the classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering of the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the gospel of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much for kindly gathering here today. I humbly request all your blessings, being in presence of many who are senior to me in Bhakti. I'm not sure what I can provide, but I will try my best so we can all take away something from this. That said, please support me and correct me whenever needed. We'll make it more like a discussion since I'm basically in the mood. Okay, so we're going to dive into Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, and specifically verses 15 to 18. These verses tell the story of Prahlad Maharaja, who was a young devotee, who faced intense opposition, not just from his demoniac father, Hiranyakashipu, but also his teachers. Those were Shanda and Amarta. The focus session will be on how Prahlad Maharaj remained unshaken devotion despite all attempts to deter him. We'll explore the theme, expecting the adversity in preaching Krishna. Now, why is this important for us to know? Like someone might ask. Because we, as young devotees, also go on a lot of Sankirtan, and we also have the responsibility. And in our spiritual lives, we will face opposition a lot of times, more times than I count. I think none of us here cannot say with confidence that I've never faced this issue. I think it's supposed to be discussed. Okay, we'll set the stage for today's verses. Hiranyakashipu, who is Prahlad's father, represents the ultimate materialist, if you can say. His sole focus was on accumulating power and wealth, and considered Vishnu or Krishna his greatest enemy. Prahlada, however, was the opposite of his father. He was a pure devotee of the Lord. And that said, devotees of Lord, whenever they talk about devotional service, unflinching, unalloyed, when these words are mentioned, they always have Prahlad Maharaja, because he's the epitome of those words. So that said, his teachers Shanda and Amarka were given a task of turning Prahlad Maharaj into a great materialist, just like father, so he can continue the legacy that Hiranyakashipu started. But obviously their teachings don't end up working, as we saw in the previous verses just yesterday. Let's dive into verse 16, which encapsulates the struggle that Prahlad Maharaj felt.
You're not reading verse 15 to...
Yeah, we'll read this after we recite. Is it okay?
Oh, yeah.
We can read it first.
Yeah, because we generally read it and then we recite.
Okay, go ahead.
So.
Okay. Who would like to read?
The great saint Narada Muni continued. The great soul Prahlad Maharaj became silent after saying this to his teachers Shanda and Amarta, the seminal sons of Shukracharya. These so-called Brahmanas then became angry at him. Because of Hiranyakashipu, they were very sorry, and to chastise Prahlad Maharaj, they spoke as follows.
Oh, please bring me a stick. This Prahlad is damaging our name and fame. Because of his bad intelligence, he has become like a cinder in the dynasty of the demons. Now he needs to be treated by the fourth of four kinds of political diplomacy.
This rascal Prahlad is supplying an axe, its negate, and the wood of the corn tree is used to prevent such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandwich of the them, and this Prahlad is the handle for that axe.
Sandra and Amarka the teachers of Prahlad Maharaj, chastised and threatened their disciple in various ways and began teaching him about the paths of religion, economic development, and sense gratifying. This is the way they educated him.
After some time, the teachers shunned and work.
No, we're only doing it.
18. Sorry, Guru.
So as we can see on the 15 translation, this verse highlights how the material world often to devotees, like the way that the world reacts. So-called materialists, they act with anger and frustration. Why? Because devotion challenges the foundation of the materialistic thinking. In the verse 16 that we'll discuss just in a few minutes, we'll skip that for now. In the verse 17, here we see the classic reaction, the dismissal and belittling that died with Prahlad Maharaja. People often reject spiritual knowledge as irrelevant or foolish because it doesn't fit their materialistic point of view. This is what we see in the translation, verse 17. In the verse 18, shows that materialists often view devotion. Shanda and Amarka wanted to mold Prahlada into a materialist, and when they failed, they became hostile. So this is what happens also, right, from day-to-day basis, that when we try to talk about devotion or bhakti, our friends, sometimes parents, they also tell us that, what have you been doing? This is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be ambitious, achieve things in life. You're not going to achieve anything like that. And then they start becoming more hostile, if that makes sense. So with that said, we'll open the verse for today, 7:5-16. Aniyatam arivetram
Aniyatam arivetram
asmakam asya sakara
asya sakara
kulangarasya durbuddhes
chaturdosyodito dhamma
Aniyatam arivetram
Aniyatam arivetram
Asmayasya sakrana
asmakam asya sakara kulangarasya durbuddhes chaturdosyodito dhamma Aniyataya revetram
Asmakam ayashashkaraha
asmakam ayashashkaraha kulangarasya durbuddhes chaturdosyodito dhamma chaturdosyodito dhamma
Aniyatam arivetram
Aniyatam arivetram asmakam ayasaskara
Asmakam
kulangarasya durbuddhes
Chaturdosyodito namaha.
chaturdosyodito dhamma
First, right? That's okay. Oh, okay, we can pick
Okay, we'll go along with the synonyms. Everyone,
Aniyatam
asmakam of us ayasaskara who is bringing the definition kulangarasya of he who is like a cinder in density durbuddhi having bad intelligence chata the fool asya for him udita declared dhamma punishment the stick of amendment
altogether.
Oh, please
bring me a stick. This Prahlad is achieving our aim and fame. Because of his bad intelligence, he has become like cinder in the dynasty of demons. Now he needs to be treated by four kinds of
Perfect.
In the political affairs, when a person sovereignly agitates against the government, four principles are used to suppress him: legal orders, pacification, the offer of a post, or finally weapons. When there there are no arguments, he is punished. In logic, this is called argumentum ad baculum. When the two seminal Brahmanas, Shanda and Amarka, failed to extract from Prahlad Maharaj the cause for having opinions different from those of his father, they called for a stick with which to chastise him to satisfy their master Hiranyakashipu. Because Prahlad had become a devotee, they considered him to be contaminated by bad intelligence and to be the worst descendant in the family of demons. As it is said, where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. In a society or family in which everyone is a demon, for someone to become a Vaishnava is certainly folly. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj was charged with bad intelligence because he was among demons, including teachers who were supposedly Brahmanas.
The members of our Krishna consciousness movement are in a position similar to that of Prahlad Maharaj. All over the world, 99% of people are godless demons. And for our preaching of Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, is always hampered by many impediments. Because of their fault of being devotees, the American boys who have sacrificed everything for Krishna consciousness are charged with being members of CIA. Moreover, the seminal Brahmanas in India who say that one become a Brahmana only if born in Brahmana family, charged with ruining the Hindu system of religion. Of course, the fact is that one become a Brahmana by qualification, because we are training Europeans and Americans to become qualified and are awarding them Brahmanical status. We are being charged with destroying the Hindu religion. Nonetheless, confronting all kinds of difficulties, we must spread the Krishna conscious movement with a great determination, like that of Prahlada. In spite of being the son of demon Hiranyakashipu, Prahlada never feared the chastisements sons of a demonic father.
Jai. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned a few times actually. Seminal Brahmanas, seminal sons of Brahmana, which means what do you think he means to say by that? Sons are like the biological sons.
How?
Yeah, and they are only Brahmana by name.
Yeah. And they do not have the qualifications to be sons. Although, we can't say much. He was supposed to train demons. So, anyways, we also just read that according to them, Prahlad Maharaj are name and fame, and that he was the worst of the demons. It's actually true, because if he wasn't the worst of demons, then he could not be a devotee, right? So it only makes sense for him to be the worst of demons. In purport, Srila Prabhupada focuses in the second paragraph about Krishna consciousness and following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj. And as we can see from the previous verses and so far that we've read in this chapter and also these chapters, is that Prahlad Maharaj was an unflinching devotee, unalloyed in his devotion, and that was shown because even he was sent to Shanda and Amarka for getting taught about so-called materialist and political subjects, he remained firm in his devotion, and although he would not oppose it, he would still recite and he would still listen to them, but at the end he would not follow it, he would not let it go through his mind. So that goes for us as well. We also have to go out in society, and we also have our own jobs and our studies, where people try to tell us all sorts of things. You as the manager probably must have heard that this is how we should treat people, this is how we should, train them, this is how it is supposed to look like. And that might not really align with our morals or what we learn in Krishna consciousness, and that's fine. So instead of opposing the materialist people, and instead of, taking on more trouble for ourselves, we just need to, from there, up from here. So that's all that we have to learn from Prahlad Maharaj's example. That's not all, but it's one of the things. It's one of the things. And here we can also see that Srila Prabhupada focuses a lot on preaching Krishna consciousness and the impediments or the adversities that comes And it is not a new topic and it's not unheard of. Like Venkatesh Prabhu and Amalaharinam being in the center of the so-called storm of the city might be able to tell that impediments and adversities exist, right? Okay, so we'll start from here. And this is profound. It says people attached to material life, those who are fully absorbed in temporary material goals, cannot develop Krishna consciousness. They are described chewing the tube. And why is it described as chewing the tube? I read it actually in one of the previous verses, and that means that when you have a new desire and you act upon the desire when you gratify those senses, it's like, you know, chewing on a piece of sugar cane. At first, when you start chewing it, it's very juicy, and you feel like, oh, I'm getting pleasure out of this. So maybe if I keep chewing, maybe if I keep, you know, like trying to gratify my senses, if I keep doing what I'm doing, then I'm gonna get more pleasure out of it. But then we all know how that goes. It doesn't last, and you can never be satisfied. It's like chewing the chewed sugar cane, which means that at first it'll give you some, you know, pleasure, but then it's bland. You don't feel satisfied because you're not supposed to. And engaging in some material activities over and over again, seeking pleasure, you are never truly satisfied. Shanda and Amarka tried to teach Prahlad the same materialistic ways, but he remained unaffected. Why? Because his mind was always fixed on Krishna, no matter what. Similarly, when we face the world's distractions and challenges, is fixed on Krishna, no adversity can truly shake us. Okay, so that was the breakdown of today's verses. I will focus more on facing adversities since we started going on Sankirtana this semester, and we also had Bhajar Purnima, we celebrated just a few days ago, so it only makes sense if we discuss this topic. Okay, let's talk about adversity. This is something that all devotees must face at some point. There are verses in Bhagavad Gita that indirectly address the challenges and adversities that one might face when spreading Krishna consciousness, and as well as the attitude that a devotee should keep in such situations. So we'll more like a trivia quiz, because obviously there are no specific verses that directly talk about impediments in preaching, but we can always learn it. We can always learn something that the verse implies. So I'll give the commentary and guess what verse I'm talking about. Okay. This verse teaches tolerance in the face of dualities like happiness and distress, which a preacher may encounter while spreading Krishna consciousness. A devotee must remain steady and unaffected by external circumstances. So what is that one verse that talks about these of happiness and distress and how one should remain unaffected?
Matra Sparshas the Gopeda.
Perfect. Yeah, so that verse is 214 from Bhagavad Gita, we can pull it up. It's Matra Sparshashniya, Shidosna Sukadipana, Agamapaino Yasta, Sudikshashvapana. It talks about how that happy stress, their appearance and disappearance in due course of time is like changing seasons of summer and winter. They arise from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So these so-called adversities that we're talking about, what does adversity mean? The word itself means difficulties or obstacles that bring you pain and suffering. So do you think this adversity is natural, or is it a part of our conditioned state?
World is, and material world is the adversity. It is the nature of this material world.
But it's also because we're conditioned. Because since we're conditioned, we feel the emotions of pain, suffering, distress. When someone gets angry on us, we want to retaliate. And it's all because we're conditioned. So they arise from sense perception. All this, they arise from sense perception. Also adversity, it's a result of sense perception, and we as devotees must learn to tolerate them. Okay, the second verse is also very famous. So in preaching, one should not be overly attached to success or fear. A devotee must carry out their duty of spreading Krishna consciousness, understanding that the results are in Krishna's hands and adversity is a part of journey. So, success or failure, you must do your job, the results are in Krishna's hands. No, it's from second chapter.
47?
So, I'll give you.
Is it the
Bob.
Like, do your
It's that what you must do your duty and leave the results to Krishna. That's the hint enough from it.
No cheating. I see.
That's fine. It's an open book test, huh?
Mogeshwari.
It's very famous. This verse is very famous.
Ma paleshu karanchana.
Oh.
Ma karma phala.
It's 247.
Yeah, I was sick. So.
Yeah. How can we forget this? But if you see the translation, I think it was a hint. See? But not the fruits. The reason why I wanted to do this trivia quiz is because we do study Bhagavad Gita, but we might not often know how to implement some stuff in life. So this is an example of how you can see this verse in the reference with preaching, that one should not overly attached to success or failure, and that we must carry out our duty, which is to spread Krishna consciousness, help ensure Prabhupada's mission, and understanding that whatever happens, the results, people might take it nicely, people might not. Some might be happy, some might be angry with us, some might be frustrated. That's adversity, and that's a part of the journey. Another verse is so famous, so we can just pull it up. The verse is 58 from Bhagavad Gita. We'll just read the translation, and then I need to show another picture so we can understand. I pulled it up. Okay, we'll go straight to the translation. Can someone read it?
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
Basically, this verse focuses on how we should always be settled and how we should be situated in our sadhana. That Krishna says that by His grace and by His mercy we can cross all the obstacles, and that also goes for preaching. So this verse, I pulled it out because it emphasizes on of being situated in your sadhana. Prabhu, can we also pull that pic up? This verse says that being situated in your sadhana and service, the pain and suffering caused by these adversities will be reduced over time, and one day you won't feel it anymore. This verse also encourages that by depending on Krishna and working in his consciousness, a devotee can overcome all obstacles, including adversity in preaching. Now, unfortunately for us, I wanted to find a PDF, but I could not, so I just took a picture. This is, I pulled it up from our family business, and it talks a lot about adversity, facing adversity, and how one should go on with accepting it first. Because it's very difficult to accept that people might just want to give you hell, just when you're just trying to help them out. And sometimes you might get frustrated thinking that, why? I'm just trying to help you. Can you just not listen? Like stuff like that. And can someone read the highlighter?
Meeting the public and accepting both physical risks and risks to the ego can show us how well we are developing qualities like tolerance and compassion. Whenever we find ourselves losing our poise, disturbed by unfriendly speech, seized by anger, or even offending the people we're trying to help, we are in fact seeing the sign, the big red flashing warning light of our deficiencies in sadhana and seva. Because the feedback we get is proportionate and immediate.
That's a good for a minute. Because this is true, right? Like I myself am scared of approaching people because I cannot, accept that, So this does happen, and developing qualities like tolerance and compassion. Prahlad Maharaj had both of these qualities, and amazingly so, because he was very, very tolerant of all the hell that his father and his teachers were giving him, and he was also very compassionate. If in the last chapter, in the 4th chapter, towards the end, Narada Muni, when like this whole thing appears as an episode of dialogues between Narada Muni and Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Narada Muni starts describing qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, and there are only 2 of millions of qualities that he has. But tolerance and compassion, yes, these are very important. Like it is said, that they don't need another group of fanatics. They need someone who's compassionate, someone who's kind, and someone who's willing to help people. So yeah, being situated in your sadhana and seva is very important, because that helps you, that anchors you, and it gives you strength, and it helps you tolerate all that is thrown on you when you go out there, because it's like a battle, right? And yeah. Talking about facing adversities, if you feel like you're alone in this, you must not feel that way, because we in facing adversities while preaching are not alone. Guess who else faced adversities when preaching Krishna consciousness? We'll start with the big figure, Srila Prabhupada, but also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu himself faced impediments and adversities while preaching. And when we started Sankirtan movement, I pulled up different references from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I would just like if we could go over them real quick. Who will start? We can start from you. Start reading.
So, adversity from local residents in Benares, Varanasi. Context: when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Benares, Varanasi, the city was dominated by Vadis, impersonalists, led by the famous sannyasi Prakashananda Saraswati. They criticized Mahaprabhu's ecstatic devotional expressions and kirtan, claiming that they were inappropriate for a sannyasi. Adversity: the Mayavadis considered him a sentimentalist in what they saw as superficial religious activities rather than authentic Vedantic study. Response: despite this opposition, Mahaprabhu responded with great humility. He accepted an invitation to meet Prakashananda and his followers, where he glorified devotional service, bhakti, over dry philosophy. His humility and profound explanation of Vedanta converted many Mayavadi sannyasis into his devotees. Reference: Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila 7.63, 119.
By these examples of how even the Lord himself faced these kind of impediments and adversities, I wanted to encourage you, all of us, because we all need it, right? That we're not alone in this, and by learning from the best, by learning from our acharyas and the Lord himself, we can get the needed encouragement to keep going. Let's read the next one, Prabhu.
Persecution by Chandkazi in Navadvipa. Context: in Navadvipa, during Mahaprabhu's early pastimes, the local Muslim magistrate, Chandkazi, was disturbed by the loud sankirtan and public chanting of the holy names, led Mahaprabhu and his followers. That's our neighbors. Chandkazi issued an order forbidding the sankirtan, and his men harassed the devotees, breaking mridanga drums and threatening punishment for those who disobeyed. Response: Mahaprabhu organized a large Sankirtana procession to the house, where he confronted him peacefully. The Qazi was deeply moved by Mahaprabhu's divine presence and reasoned arguments, and he evoked the prohibition, becoming the sympathizer of the movement. Reference: Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 17.123 to 160.
We definitely have those red-sized people and Chandkazis all around. And like just the fact that these adversities that I highlighted is something that we like feel on a day-to-day basis when we go out and Sankirtan. Let's keep reading.
My old friend, he's from Navadvipa, he's Bengali, I met him here. And he actually has one of those mridanga broken by Chandkazi.
Oh, wow.
Challenges during Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled extensively throughout South India to spread the message of Bhakti and chanting of the holy names. During this time, he encountered many people who held different philosophical views, including Buddhists and followers of impersonalist philosophy. Adversity, Mahaprabhu often faced opposition from these groups who challenged his emphasis on devotional service and personal form of the Lord. In particular, the Buddhists attempted to discredit him by presenting their arguments. In response, against their opposition, Mahaprabhu remained undeterred. He refuted their philosophies through scriptural reasoning and personal realizations. His divine presence and miraculous presence won over even the most hostile critics. Reference Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela, 1989-87.
Disrespect from the residents of Jagannath Puri. Context: after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and moved to Jagannath Puri, some local Brahmanas disrespected him, considering him to be an emotional fanatic. They saw his public displays of love for Krishna, such as crying and fainting, as appropriate behavior for a renounced monk. Adversity. This criticism was particularly painful for his associates, but Mahaprabhu, in his humility, remained unaffected by their negative opinions. Response: Mahaprabhu continued his mission of teaching devotion through his personal example. Over time, many who had initially criticized him became his followers after witnessing his deep love for Krishna and his scriptural knowledge. Reference: Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela, 177 till 109.
Rejection by his own mother. Context. Before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, his mother, Sachimata, expressed deep sorrow over his desire to renounce worldly life. Mahaprabhu was greatly distressed by the thought of causing his mother pain. He understood that his mission required him to accept sannyas. Adversity. His emotional struggle of leaving his family, especially his mother, was a significant personal tragedy for Mahaprabhu. Response: despite the emotional difficulty, Mahaprabhu took sannyasa, knowing it was necessary for the greater purpose of spreading Krishna consciousness. This renunciation deeply impacted his followers and inspired them to greater dedication. Reference Charitamrita, Natalila 31:22 and 22.
Reading that, how does that sound? We're not alone in this. It happened to the Lord himself. Another figure that also faced the adversities, as the Machibur mentioned, is Srila Prabhupada himself. And we all know how that went. But I pulled up some references from Chaitanya Charitamrita that we can all go together.
Financial struggles in Starting Back to Godhead magazine. Next, in the 1940s, Srila Prabhupada began publishing the magazine Back to Godhead to spread Krishna consciousness. However, he faced several financial difficulties. He would write, edit, print, and distribute the magazine himself, often struggling to afford the printing costs. Adversity. Due to financial hardship, Srila Prabhupada sometimes had to halt the magazine's production. He had little support, and his message was not widely accepted in India during that time. Despite the challenges, Srila Prabhupada persisted, seeing the magazine as an essential tool for spreading Krishna consciousness. His determination and faith in Krishna helped him to continue, even in the face of repeated setbacks.
Journey to Mera on the Jalmuta. Context: in 1965, at the age of 69, Srila Prabhupada boarded the steamship Jaladuta to travel to the United States to fulfill the mission given to him by his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The journey was filled with physical and emotional challenges. Adversity. During the journey, Srila Prabhupada suffered 2 heart attacks, was seasick and felt deep loneliness, being far from home and with little idea of how he would be received in America. Response: Srila Prabhupada endured these adversities with strong faith in Krishna. He wrote heartfelt praise to Krishna, expressing his dependence on the Lord to make this mission successful. He saw these challenges as tests of his sincerity and faith, and Krishna's protection sustained him throughout Prabhupada Lilamrit, Volume 1, A Lifetime in Preparation.
So the response also showed us that this is the attitude that we should have. It might not come right away, obviously, but after something happens, after something like this happens, we should just take a step back and reflect on our acharyas and the disciplic succession and what they also had to go through. The ISKCON that we know of now is very different from the ISKCON that they established, right? And they faced way more challenges, way more impediments and adversities than we face these days. So it is something that we can draw inspiration from. Expressing that we need to be dependent on the Lord to make this mission successful. Let's keep reading.
Initial struggles in New York. Context. After arriving in New York, Srila Prabhupada faced tremendous adversity while trying to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. He had very little money, no contacts, and was living in a foreign land with harsh winters and no real support system. Adversity. Srila Prabhupada lived in poor conditions, sometimes skipping meals because of lack of funds. He also faced the challenge of trying to preach in a culture vastly different from India, where the people had little understanding of Krishna consciousness. Response. Despite these difficulties, Srila Prabhupada remained undeterred. He began holding classes and kirtanas in the Lower East Side, attracting the interest of young people, particularly the hippies. His patience, compassion, and unwavering devotion gradually brought followers who helped him establish ISKCON. Reference: Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Volume 1, Struggling Alone.
Opposition from Mayavadis and impersonalists. Context. As Srila Prabhupada's movement began to grow, particularly in India, he faced opposition from various groups, including Mayavadis, impersonalists, and other critics who disagreed with his emphasis on personalism and the chanting of the holy names. Adversity. Some opposed him publicly, criticizing his philosophy and ridiculing his efforts to engage Westerners in Krishna consciousness. Others tried to undermine his mission by attacking the character of his disciples or the practices of ISKCON. Response. Prabhupada responded to opposition with forms and spiritual logic, using the Shastras to defeat their arguments. He remained steadfast in his mission, knowing that he was following the instructions of his spiritual master and Krishna. His humility, courage, and conviction turned many critics into supporters. Reference: Srila Prabhupada with the Volume 4, Unifying the Mission.
The struggle to build the Juhu temple in Mumbai. Context. One of the most dramatic adversities Srila Prabhupada faced was in his efforts to build the Krishna Balram temple in Juhu, Mumbai. He had secured the land but faced severe opposition from previous landowner, politicians, and local authorities. Adversity. The landowner attempted to renege on the agreement, and there were numerous legal battles, threats, challenges, including attempts to evict the devotee and halt the construction. The struggle went on for years, causing much distress and difficulty for Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. Srila Prabhupada was relentless. He maintained his faith in Krishna and encouraged his disciples to stay strong despite the adversity. His perseverance and unshakable resolve eventually resulted in successful completion of the temple, which stands today as a major center of ISKCON. Reference: Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit, Volume 6, Unfailing Determination.
And the last one.
Health problems in later years. Context. As Srila Prabhupada aged, his health began to deteriorate. Yet he continued to travel and preach tirelessly, establishing them around the world and guiding his disciples. adversity. His health was a constant challenge, frequent illness and weakness. Despite these physical difficulties, he never let them stop him from fulfilling his mission. Response. And bedridden, Srila Prabhupada continued to give instructions, write letters, encourage his followers to spread Krishna consciousness. He saw his physical condition as temporary and was fully absorbed in his service to Krishna until his last breath. Reference Srila Prabhupada, Lilamrita, Volume 7, the final lesson.
Do you guys see a trend in the responses of both the documents? Qualities like resilience, tolerance, perseverance, humility, peacefulness, and kindness to all, no matter what they give you. It is said that if you must have heard this phrase, if they go low, you must go low. That is something that people these days like to say. But if they give you help and you're still kind to them, you're actually the only one mature in that conversation. And by the example of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, we learn that it happens and a devotee must go through this. Facing these adversities and impediments, especially while preaching, it's crucial for our advancement in Bhakti also. It's important that we face these challenges and we face these people, so we become more firm, more situated in our sadhana. So we also become unflinching, tolerant, kind, and compassionate, like Prahlad Maharaja, Srila Prabhupada himself. And while it's easier said than done, but it is something that if we keep coming back to the adversities and impediments that our aryas also face, it will give us courage. Because we as devotees, we do not have to establish the Juhu temple. We do not need to go out there in an unknown land and preach Krishna consciousness to strangers. Our job is easier than all of that. We have to go out, talk to people, try our best. And by just doing that, Srila Prabhupada will be very pleased. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be very pleased. Our gurus, our spiritual masters will be very pleased. And while I understand, I myself am struggling with this issue. But if we together encourage each other, I think we can keep going in fulfilling the mission of Srila Prabhupada. Jai. So please go ahead and the floor is yours. How about we take 1 sentence reflection each? Or is that too much?
Questions first.
Questions, okay.
You can go ahead first.
I just wanted to share something that I think I heard from Professor Shekhar Maharaj was that I think he mentions that book distribution is a very purifying experience because of all the adversity facing. Gives us of so much false ego, like having the door being slammed on our face, being rejected constantly over and over again. And so what you were saying today reminded me of that, so thank you.
Yeah, I drew inspiration from Prabhupada disciples and Srila Prabhupada himself. And these personalities, Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, are a modern day example of how things are done and how we should take encouragement and motivation from them.
I was watching a video in which a guy had the old bars and he was on the road and just giving them out freely. Anyone would see, he would ask them to take these, and if anyone would say yes, he would give it to them, right? And even after so many rejections, he didn't lose his confidence. Why? Because he knew the value of the thing he was giving out for nothing. So when we face rejection, we can also think in this way, like, if that person has rejected something, it's not something that you're losing. It's something that guy is losing because we know the value of what we're giving them.
That is very well said. Sometimes we also see people who attend some of our programs. During Kirtan, no matter how much you say, please sing, please chant along, please sing along, they just won't.
Yeah.
And sometimes people leave. The we have to be more compassionate towards even thinking of those people, because we all have been suffering for lifetimes and lifetimes, and we don't even know how long, right? In Bhagavad Gita it is said that it's been so long that we can't even trace it back. So it's been an eternity since we've been stuck in the cycle of birth and death. When we go out for book distribution, it's called book distribution, not selling, because we're not selling the books, we're distributing them. And it's for kind souls who don't know that they're kind. It's for souls who have been lost, and we're just trying to help them reconnect their eternal position.
Yeah, I mean
Go
like
back to God.
that guy was literally giving out gold biscuits, like for nothing, just take it, you know. And people were not taking it; they don't realize the value of it, right? Like they thought he was joking. Devotees don't just give books; they even try to convince, like, see the value of it, right? Like, but even then, if they're blinded, then you just have to let them go. You can just give your best try.
We have to do our duty. Success or failure, we have to leave it to Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Thanks so much for this very elaborate explanation of this adversity, how to face adversity and how to respond. Yeah, that is very nice, because this will help someone like me who is not very good at facing adversity.
I myself.
Because
So we're all in this together.
yeah. So one point you mentioned that also face this. I think every one of us somewhere or the other face this, and if we stay together and encourage each other, help each other, and then I think we all can do our little bit and face the adversity and give a good response, learn something from it. So that is very important. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Yes.
I just wanted to say that, like, from my realizations, I've realized that in the last 1 year, that if I'm thinking to get something and I get it, it's not gonna make anything better. Like, I would like again be thinking about something else. Oh, if this works out as well, what if this needs to be done? This needs to be done. So anything that you do in this material world, like, there's no chance that, like, you'll be every time happy, right? This material world, like, things will keep coming to you, right? So when you said adversity is part of the journey, it actually resonated a lot, because that's something that, from my realizations, I've been feeling it for the last 1 year. Yeah.
And I think you grow in your spiritual life by facing adversities only. Not only, but the growth is more when you face adversity and you try and respond to it, because you are growing there. You are learning the qualities like humility, compassion, right? While distributing books. If you don't have these two qualities, then it's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Yes. So it's teaching the two of the most important qualities to us.
Yes. And I will end this by reading something that Srila Prabhupada wrote. But before that, I want to highlight the practical applications from today's class. The first one is face criticism with tolerance. It is quite apparent to this. But just as Srila Prabhupada faced adversity and did not retaliate, just like how Prahlad Maharaj did not retaliate, and just how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not retaliate against his oppressors or people who gave him a hard time. We should also remain tolerant when people challenge or criticize us for our spiritual practices or preaching. The second one is to always stay focused on Krishna. And that's very important. It might be the most important takeaway from this class. That even in the face of adversity, Prahlad's mind was always fixed on Krishna. And from Srila Prabhupada's example as well, that he was also always focused on Krishna, always situated in sadhana. And what to talk about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So through regular sadhana and chanting, hearing, serving, services, we too stay focused, and it is vital for our preaching and also our announcement in Krishna consciousness. The third one is also very important. It's to seek devotee association. Srila Prabhupada often challenges, seek support and guidance from the devotee community to help remain steady. Because you can't keep filling from an empty pitcher. You also need someone who can encourage you, someone who can listen to you when you need to share stuff like with you. And together we fill each other's pitchers, and that's how we go. So yeah, we are almost over time, but I will just shortly read. Yes.
Yeah, I want to share this one thing. You were saying that Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they didn't retaliate to the adversity, but they also they were all being good to the opposition, right? They were still thinking good. They were not like envious, like not holding grudges against them. So we should also. It is very hard. It's very hard. I know that. You know, if someone does something to you, it's very hard to be good to them. But still, if you try and be good or just give them a smile, maybe their heart melt.
Yeah. Just yesterday we read about Prahlad Maharaja and how he did not like the terms of enemy and friends. And his teachers were teaching him about it. We also should not look at enemies. So the whole point of saying that they would not retaliate is to emphasize on how they responded when faced with these efforts. With a kind heart, with stress, because you need that, and also with compassion. Yeah, I'll just read this short paragraph. A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all problems of life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce the system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord who risked their lives for spreading Krishna consciousness. The favorite example is also Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Similarly, in India also there are many examples, such as Thakur Haridas and Prahlad Maharaja. Why take risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. But that is what makes you very dear to the Lord also. So with that said, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.